Okay, the first thing we need to do is to make a jig to cut the kerf. This is just a scrap piece of metal, probably 3 inches by 4 inches. And I'm just going to trace around this on just a scrap piece of wood. Then I want to take a small chisel and I'm just going to chisel out down to a depth of about half the thickness of the metal. The idea here is for the just a very thin section of the metal to be raised up above the surface of the wood. You can see how that fits in there. And here's a little close-up to show you that there's just a very small part of the metal that sticks up. And now I'm going to take the flush cut saw and cut off some of the material. This is actually behind the neck. Just some of the scrap maple there that I can cut into strips to make the kerfing with. And this is one of the strips. Just cut that out with a coping saw once you've got it sliced. And then I'm going to take a little small finger plane and run it along one of the edges there at about a 45-degree angle. There you can see how that's chamfered off that edge. Okay, now I'm going to start with just a simple little mark here. Then I want to go about 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch. About 5 or 6 millimeters thick. And that's going to be the width of each little cut. And I'm just going to put a little scrap piece of wood behind it here, just to help guide it along. And now you can see how the metal being slightly raised is going to keep the saw from completely cutting through the wood. I'm going to extend that mark a little, and then you can just move your cut down to where it's lined up with that mark and make your next cut. And just repeat that down, moving each saw cut down to the first mark. And you can see how thin that makes that, and then how flexible the wood becomes. And just continue making all your strips just like that. Now these, be careful handling these. They do become kind of fragile. And these are going to be in the lower part of the body with the larger curves. But you can see how easily that bends into and fits into the shape. Now the curves here are a lot sharper than on the bottom. And on that, we're going to have to make the cuts with a hacksaw, which has a little thinner blade than a standard saw. And we're going to make the cuts a lot closer together. And I'm just going to go over a little piece here that I had started, and you can see how we're just going to make some very, very close cuts. About every 16th of an inch to about even 2 millimeters. You can see how we've made several cuts there to allow the wood to flex a little more than normal. And you can see how it can fit into that sharper curve. Okay, now make sure you've got 4 sections for the top and bottom of each cutaway. That's the smaller cuts for the sharper curves. And you've got all your kerfing ready. And you just want to apply some glue to the back of it. Smooth that out. And then we're going to take just standard clothespins. They seem to work just as well as anything to clamp these on with. Just continue right down the side, keeping the top of the kerf square and level with the side itself. And keep going around. And the real purpose of the kerfs is that the sides are so thin, there's not enough surface area there for the top to glue to. This gives you enough surface area that now the tops can be secured to the sides. Wipe off any excess glue. And go all the way around on one side. And then finish off the top. I'll let it dry and repeat it for the other side, and then let that dry another day.